Brett Pesce sidelined again on Sunday night as the Devils were shorthanded defensively, but it was the offense that failed them, Chico Resch, as they fall 3-0 to the Detroit Red Wings.
And, Matty, we always say, well, what's really important? First goal. And tonight, more than ever, I think, Matty, that was the case coming off the Ranger emotional victory. And they didn't get that, and they didn't get one in the second, and they didn't get one in the third. So it just it was a game that I guess was not meant to be, because I saw 4 or 5 great chances for the Devils. I thought they're going to score. 3 of them hit the post. Couple more were wide. And they needed those to go in the net, and they didn't.
And so they fall 3-0. We go to the first period as Detroit starting a 4-game road trip. Devils playing Game 4 of a 7-game homestand. Moritz Seider hadn't scored since the Kennedy administration. Had gone 23 games without a goal. He scored against Toronto on the 28th of December, but 3:20 in, that streak came to an end. Here's to Brinkett with a shot, blockered away by Markstrom. Seider from the blue line scores through a screen. He goes over the left shoulder of Jacob Markstrom, and it's an early Detroit lead. 8th goal of the season for Moritz Seider.
And he'd been struggling, Matty. He hadn't scored in a long, long time. And it's from outside the not outside, just inside the blue line. You're thinking, come on, is that really going to be a goal shot? Well, it was a seeing eye goal from the blue line, and it shocked Markey, and it shocked this crowd, and it wasn't a good sign early on.
Patrick Kane picks up the primary assist. Andrew Kopp, the secondary assist, 3:20 the time of the goal. And Detroit had the 1-0 lead. They didn't know it then. It turned out to be the only goal they would need. We move further along in the period, and Jacob Markstrom had to stare down Michael Rasmussen. It went off the stick of Justin Falk, and the UMD, University of Minnesota at Duluth product, takes the puck to center ice. Now moves across the line, finds a trailer, glove save by Markstrom on Rasmussen. So it kept it 1-0 after one period of play. I like to mention, but I kind of have to mention anyone who ever played for UMD, which is Chico's alma mater. He's a proud member, and should be, of their Hall of Fame. That's the University of Minnesota at Duluth.
Yes. Yeah, and they're having a good year. They got 2 plant boys, and their dad played in the NHL, and Matt, they are one of them's going to make the NHL. But that's what carries that team, and they did this weekend as they won 2 games and now move on against North Dakota.
And so we'll move on as well.
Yes.
On our highlight.
Throw that in. Maddie's going like, come on, Chico, give it up, give it up.
I mentioned Seton Hall basketball. What a year they had. The women today lost in the semis of the Big East Conference Tournament. Another good year for Tony Bozzella, the head coach of Seton Hall, and Shaheen Holloway led Seton Hall to 20 regular season wins on the men's side, and they go to the Big East Tournament starting this week. So there.
Okay, we're even.
That's it. So now we go to the highlights, and here we go. We're going to move into the second period, which really, this was the determinant period because the Devils had chances, but it was Detroit that scored, and the early chance was Connor Brown's. Now it's Luke Hughes in the center circle. Cuts to his left, looks around, drops it for Brown, pokes it to himself. He's in off the post. What a beautiful setup. Connor Brown to himself. Yeah, that was just a great sense of vision. What can I do here? I got the man beat. If I chip it to him, I've got the speed. I love the way it developed, but the finish just wasn't there.
I know, man. How many times have we been disappointed? So excited about all the great things that happen before the play is made, but the puck's got to end up in the net, and it didn't.
Shortly thereafter, it was Johnny Kovacevic called for an interference, kind of a bouncing puck, and then he stepped in front of the Detroit Red Wing player. Power play opportunity for the Red Wings. The penalty called at 5:43. At 6:37, this was a 2-0 Detroit lead. First time that had ever happened, they score! Seider with the shot, and it's Van Riemsdyk with the hands, the deflection in front. It's 2-0. And we were talking there with JVR, James Van Riemsdyk, the Jersey player on the ice, scoring the goal at 6:37 to make it 2-0. Patrick Kane picked up the secondary assist. He was first overall, selected by Chicago in 2007. Van Riemsdyk selected second overall by Philadelphia. That was the first time two Americans ever went 1-2 in the draft, and they've both had terrific careers, but Kane's is a Hall of Fame career with 3 cups and all that sort of good stuff that he had in Chicago.
Yeah, that's all true, Matty, but you know what? I hope that doesn't count for him now. He's playing on this team. Same thing with James Van Riemsdyk. They haven't done much. But why today? Why did they have to get it going today? And they did.
And so that made it 2-0. And then later on in the period, Devils trying to mount a comeback. Lenny Haminaho heard a little ring-a-ding-ding. Glass sends it into the zone, but too far for Brad. It's cleared ahead. Luke Hughes will settle it. Now it's on to Siegenthaler in front of the Detroit bench. Nice tape pass to Brad, who makes a move, gives it off to Haminaho. Haminaho with a shot. That's off the crossbar. Oh, a near miss for Lenny Haminaho, and so it stayed 2-0. And you talk about it often, Chico. Those kind of moments make you sit on the bench sometimes and say, is it our night or isn't it?
Exactly, Matty. Is the unseen hand with us, or is it slapping us around tonight? And unfortunately on that one, the unseen hand wasn't with the Devils.
There was a scrum at the end of the second period. Penalties were assessed only to Ben Sherratt and Timo Meier. But from a Detroit perspective, and perhaps at the moment from this game's perspective, the injury suffered by John Gibson in the collision, and then, all the players in the crease, et cetera, but Timo Meier hit him. He was kind of pushed around a little bit. Lucas Raymond went down on Gibson. Anyway, Gibson did not come out to start the third period, and while Talbot did a nice job the rest of the way, Gibson is the one on whose shoulders Detroit's playoff hopes ride.
Well, it does, and it did tonight. And when we saw to start the game, he's not even on the bench. Well, what a great opportunity for the Devils. Because, again, one goal ignites this crowd, right? And I really felt all night one goal will lead to 2 and maybe 3. But because the Devils needed a shot of confidence, shot of belief that tonight was going to be similar maybe to yesterday when they were just magical against the Rangers. But, nothing quite worked right for them. A lot of in-tight plays. There was some rebounds I thought they might bang home. Couldn't get that done. And so it just was shocking, I think. What shocked me the most, Matty, was the third period that the Devils couldn't put more of a push on.
They had 10 shots, but were outshot by Detroit and lose 3-0. But that leads in the third period to our play of the game, brought to you by Prudential, the Devils' official financial services partner. A big night for a 30-year-old, 32 in fact, Dominic Shine. Now the puck in the Devils' zone. They trail 2-0. Sider opened the scoring in the first, has it at the hash marks. Banks one behind the net. Van Riemsdyk flips one through the crease, and they score. And it's Dominic Shine with his first National Hockey League goal. And it's 3-0. 14th NHL game. Saw a little action last year. 9 games with the Red Wings, didn't score. He's 32 years of age. Last year, 14 goals with Grand Rapids, so down there a little bit of a touch, but nothing really up here from Pinckney, Michigan. Do you know where Pinckney, Michigan is?
No. Northern Michigan, the school. Brian Ralston played there. It's Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. It's across the river from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So, it wasn't like he was even highly recruited, with some of the top schools wanting him. But he's been pushing and pushing, and you mentioned it, sitting on the bench, folks. It was kind of sweet. He's there like, what just happened? Am I in La La Land or what? And he's got Van Riemsdyk on one side, and it was
DeBrincat.
Yeah, DeBrincat, the other goal scorer on the other side. But he's just soaking it in. And Matty, I can remember my first win in the National Hockey League. I can't imagine what he was feeling after scoring a goal in the NHL. I'm in the biggest, league in the world, and I just scored a goal. And so he'll have a very satisfying night.
Yeah, and because of the circumstances, that being his first goal, that is the play of the game, brought to you by Prudential, the Devils' official financial services partner. Waiting to hear from Sheldon Keefe, but first, let's check in with Devils defenseman Jonas Siegenthaler.
It's kind of disappointing with the run that you guys were on here, scoring a lot, sort of controlling the game. Like, what did you sort of see there?
Yeah, I mean, we had our chance, but they didn't give us a lot. I think they did a pretty good job controlling the mill, especially odd man rushes. They covered it pretty good. So it was just hard for us to break through, and we tried to find another way to win, but somehow it wasn't that easy tonight.
I just feel like by the third, like after back-to-back, just maybe ran out a little bit of gas there.
Yeah, that too. But I think at the end it's mental. You just gotta collect your energy for the last period, and just go out there and play the game. I think we had our chances, but it wasn't going in tonight.
I know you guys gave up a power play goal tonight, but just in general, you guys have been pretty strong. I think 16 of 18 on the penalty kill over the last 5 games. What's been going right for you guys there?
Yeah, I think we want to try to stay aggressive on the PK, and I think we did a pretty good job over the last couple of games, and you can see it from the outside too. I think just staying aggressive, and if you go with the flow, it kind of gets a little easier. But tonight we got one, and for next game we want to turn the page again and not try again one.
What is it with that team? The last couple times you guys met, it's been a little chippy. Is there any one particular thing, or is it just circumstantial?
I don't know. At the end it's hockey, and sometimes it gets a little heated, and maybe we don't like the Red Wings. I think it's not just them. I think just during the season, some games just gets a little heated up.
That's Jonas Siegenthaler. Honestly, I didn't think it was overly heated tonight.
No. I mean, when you're grabbing at things, you lose 3-0. Listen, folks, it's this simple. I'm a simple person. 1-0, okay. Red Wings go up on a screenshot. That's good, and then they get a tip. In the second period, Devils hit 3 goalposts. I can think of another 2 open nets. If they score and bring this crowd into this game and they start roaring like they were ready to do, that is going to propel the Devils onward and upward. But they didn't score. There's nothing else to say. And it wasn't Markey giving up bad goals. It was not even sometimes Gibson making the save. It was that inch or two that where it hit the post, it went out of the net instead of into the net. That's as simple as it is.
And I don't blame Jonas Siegenthaler. He has to answer the question. And I know you're not either. But also he was asked about it being mental. And, I guess there's a physical, mental component to playing back-to-back. And the Devils have had a couple of those situations this past week. But honestly, I didn't see any energy issues overall. Detroit just, as he said, clogged the middle a bit. Devils couldn't get to their rush game, and it's such an important component of any success that they'll have. And so that's one of the things thinking ahead. They're going to have to figure out when the rush game isn't there, what's the secondary game that can get you to a W.
Well, how about shooting him inside those pipes?
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, all I'm saying, Matty, is emotion is a funny thing, and people can say, well, they weren't emotionally high. I'll tell you, you're sitting on the bench, and occurrences during the game is what can excite you or can bring you down. No, they didn't get any push from anything happening on the ice in terms of goals, which is the ultimate in emotional lifts. They didn't get any. And then they see a tip. James Van Riemsdyk, a shot from the point. Really not much of anything. He makes a brilliant tip. Sider from the point. This isn't a dangerous shot, but it's a screen, and he just hits it inside the post instead of the post. And so that's all the game was. You can talk about everything else. It's all fluff, Matty, except tonight, Devils not getting the puck in the net really hurt them. And we have seen so many games, right, where they have been able to score when they've outplayed the other team or have had great chances, and how it gets them down. And today was another example, or tonight.
Devils shut out for the 7th time this season as they lose 3-0. We're waiting to hear from Sheldon Keefe. While we do, let's just jump ahead. They've got 3 days off. That's good. The standings may look worse by the time they get ready for Calgary. It's just one of those things, right? You can't control what other teams will do while you're off. But just looking ahead to Calgary, they're a team that's in a rebuild. They've made some changes. Mackenzie Weegar, Rasmus Anderson being traded. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing Blake Coleman because he's such a good guy and an important part of Devils history. Anyway, what do you think?
Matty, and they're unpredictable. At home last night, they beat a very hot Carolina team. They will come in and play hard. But here's what you got to know, folks, for the Devils. Okay, think of this. Do you ever want to be recognized as a quitter? And the fans can see when someone's not giving it their all. No. I know Markstrom will play again, but he wants to say, I got to be on fire right to the end of the season, or else people are going to say, oh, you quit. Same thing with Jack Hughes. Same thing with the team. They're not going to quit because they know they're being analyzed, Matty. And the thing is, play hard. It's like, I don't think they're going to make it now. This was a big game. But if I see somebody not playing for next year, and just think about that, really, how many players are not playing for next year? I would say 14 of them, of the Devils, are playing for next year. Mm-hmm. So they're going to come and play hard. But at the same time, Calgary's got nothing to lose. And the other thing is, like I said today, what did I say that worried me the most? John Gibson stealing a game in Thursday night in Calgary, against Calgary. Again, their goalie, he wants to establish himself. He could steal a game. So, it's not going to be easy, but if the Devils don't win, please, folks, don't think, oh, they just quit, they weren't trying. That's not going to be the case. They don't have any losers on their team. Unfortunately, Matty, what we've seen lately, they don't have enough finishers. And I'm just saying that, as general. Right? They needed more finishers the last 20 games.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, get excited, analyze folks, get fired up for the stretch drive, see who gives it extra. I don't think we're going to see anybody, packing it in for the Devils. That's not going to happen. And, yeah, in some ways, we've got a pretty darn good nucleus here, Matthew. I think we do. And I think let's look and see who grows down these final 19 games.
Devils in Calgary on Thursday night as the Devils' long homestand rolls on. I forgot to mention Yegor Sharangovich.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see him.
Yeah.
Playing for the Calgary Flames as we await Sheldon Keefe.
Defenseman Kevin Ball.
That's right.
I'm kidding.
Big Kevin Ball. No, there are a bunch of former Devils on that team, and they'll be in town on Thursday. While we wait for the coach, let's hear what Connor Brown had to say.
Just kind of, a couple posts there, but just kind of hard to break through there. It has to be, after having some really good offensive output from it, to be a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's a good word. It was disappointing. I don't think we played poorly. Their first 2 goals are kind of throw-ins from the point and find their way in, and we hit a couple posts and missed a couple shots, and it could have been the other way, and it's the margins are slim sometimes in this game, and it's disappointing. It would have been nice to see it fall our way there.
It's sometimes easier to digest when you've kind of been on a roll, right, and know that winning feeling and that you can get right back to that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I think that the belief is high in this group. I think even on a night like that, when we lose, I think that we had every opportunity to win the game, especially through the first 2 periods. And so, it's important to continue to build momentum, even though there's a bump along the way there.
What has been the best part that you've seen of that momentum that you guys have been building over the last couple of games, and maybe even some that transferred into tonight?
I think speed. I think on turnovers, we're turning quickly. We're getting on offense very fast. Stretching their D, using our feet and our speed. I think that's kind of been the main thing. Was
there less of that tonight, or just with the way the game comes?
Well, I think that they play differently than the last couple teams that we saw. They're up on us a little bit more, and I think,
We're going to leave the Connor Brown interview. I think you got the gist of where his mind is at about tonight's game. Let's check in with the head coach live.
For sure. So we didn't get to the inside enough. It was, enough opportunities to do so, but they kind of pushed us out there and left us out there. I think we finished the game at like 67% controlled entries. Highest rate in the league is 52%. So we put ourselves in a spot to have the puck a lot and be on offense and all that, but it's against numbers all the time. They got people back, so you got to work your way in, find different ways to score, and we didn't do that nearly well enough.
What would you have liked to have seen from your group to sort of make that transition into the middle of the?
Well, you got to get there. You got to be willing to go there. You got to work to get there. But it was, to me, it's just we just didn't have it tonight. We just didn't have it. We were slow. We were second a lot. It was. I thought we had a pretty decent start. We had a little bit of jump early, but we seemed to run out of gas too quickly in a game that you needed the gas. I thought Detroit played really well, played really hard, played smart. They had the benefit of playing with the lead for most of the game, and they managed it really well. And they show why they're in a playoff spot. They played a really hard and smart game. The looks that we did have, we didn't make good on them. We hit a couple posts on the rush. Power play didn't come through, so that's why you lose.
I know hockey's a physical, chippy sport, but with that team in particular, the past few have been a little extra. Does it feel like a little rivalry brewing there?
No.
When you're on the bench, when do you notice the team's kind of running out of gas? What do you do to try to augment that?
You're just trying to push them. You're trying to challenge them. And we've talked about this before, especially in these back-to-backs. Like, try to convince yourself that you have more. You got a reserve tank to dig into, and we just weren't able to get there. But like I said, it's a combination of that, but also Detroit's making it hard. They're playing a good game. There's another team on the ice, and I think if you're on the other side, you like a lot about how they defended, played simple, played hard. They didn't turn pucks over. They didn't give us a lot of pucks in favorable spots. We had to earn everything. And like I said, we moved the puck well. We enter them with control. We're in control of a lot of things, but now you got to find a way to get to the interior. You got to find a way to score ugly, and we just didn't do that. We had 35 pucks today that were either blocked or missed the net, and part of that is our execution level. Part of it is Detroit's defending. They're in the lane. They're blocking. They're getting sticks on things. They're pushing you out of the lane and making it your shot difficult to get through. So a lot of credit goes to Detroit, but we weren't good enough to find our way through it and played from behind most of the game. Tough recipe.
I know you obviously always want to be perfect on the penalty kill, but you were still 4 for 5 tonight, 16 of 18 over the last 5 games. Just what do you think has been working well for you guys there?
Penalty kill's been excellent. I think we're second or maybe third in the league since the turn of the new year. So it's more than just that sample you're talking about. We've been real good on the kill for a long time. Even just prior to Christmas, we were really good as well. So. Because our power play didn't score, because the game was so tight, we got to get that one, But we've probably been asking a little bit too much of our kill here of late in terms of the number of them. But we've got great confidence in it right now for sure.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
And that is Sheldon Keefe concluding his post-game news conference. I know we all have our own point of view.
Yes.
I just didn't see this as a kind of nasty game.
No.
That was a theme that some were trying to develop. I mean, here were the penalties tonight. A hook, too many men on the ice, 2 interference, a rough, and a trip on the Devils. I mean,
Yeah.
other than, there was Gibson leaving.
Yeah,
the game with an
Myers
injury.
driving into the goalie. Yeah,
Yeah,
but come on,
didn't see
this wasn't chippy. And I saw Jack Hughes down here. He comes in on the left side. He hits Gibson in the shoulder. Remember, Matty, a great save. Then the goalpost. No. Okay, would you say, well, should the Devils have came with the same emotion as they had yesterday against the Rangers? Are you kidding me? They're not going to. But, again, the momentum of games, the adrenaline rush will come if you score goals. And it wasn't like the Devils had, they only had 17 shots. They had 30 shots, Matty. They had 5 or 6 glorious chances to score. They didn't. That's the bottom line.
Yep, 7 shutouts this season against the Devils, including the one against Detroit. 3-0 the final score. The Devils back in action on Thursday against Calgary. It's a game you'll hear here on the Devils Hockey Network.